Now let me discuss the indirectly acting drugs. So if you take this particular indirectly acting drugs, they will increase the acetylcholine levels at the receptor site. What they do is, these particular indirectly acting drugs, they act by inhibiting the enzyme, right? They act by inhibiting the enzyme acetylcholine esterase. Right, it acts by inhibiting the enzyme acetylcholine esterase. So once this acetylcholine esterase is inhibited, acetylcholine will not be metabolized to choline plus acetate, and thereby the acetylcholine level increases. Okay, so these indirectly acting drugs, what they do, they increase the availability and they prolong the action of the acetylcholine. Right, they prolong the action of acetylcholine. Alright, next, because they are inhibiting the enzyme acetylcholine esterase, these drugs, they are also known as anticholinesterases. Alright, these drugs, they are also known as anticholinesterases. Now, this particular anticholinesterases or your cholinesterase inhibitors, they are of two types. So this anticholinesterases, like we are having this as two types, that is reversible and as well as irreversible. Right, reversible and as well as irreversible. You take reversible cholinesterase inhibitors, that means once the effect of these drugs is over, the cholinesterase will regain its activity, whereas irreversible anticholinesterase, they will permanently inhibit that cholinesterase enzyme. Now first let me discuss about the reversible anticholinesterases. Right, let me discuss the reversible anticholinesterases. Now, the drugs under your reversible anticholinesterases are, we have Physostigmine, then we have Neostigmine, then we have Pyridostigmine, Edrophonium, Tacrin, then we have Donepezil, Galantamine and Rivastigmine. So these are the important drugs in this group. So what this particular group will do, what they will do, they will inhibit the acetylcholine esterase enzyme, but the inhibition of this acetylcholine esterase enzyme is reversible. Okay, is reversible. So these drugs inhibit the enzyme acetylcholine esterase reversibly and thereby prolong the duration of action of the acetylcholine. That is what the reversible anticholinesterases will do. Now, out of which you take this particular drug, which is very, very important, that is Physostigmine. Physostigmine, if you see, Physostigmine, this is one of the reversible anticholinesterase, which is a lipid soluble drug. Right, this is a very important point. This is a lipid soluble drug, right? And not only lipid soluble drug, it is a naturally occurring tertiary amine, right? It's a naturally occurring tertiary amine. Okay, now we have some other lipid soluble drugs. Some other lipid soluble reversible anticholinesterases are, we have Tacrin, that is also lipid soluble, Donepezil, that is also lipid soluble, Rivastigmine and Galantamine. These are also lipid soluble reversible anticholinesterases. Whereas the remaining all other reversible anticholinesterases, they are synthetic quaternary compounds. You take this Physostigmine, this is naturally occurring tertiary amine, whereas the other reversible anticholinesterases, they are synthetic quaternary compounds. Right, they are synthetic quaternary compounds and they are lipid insoluble. And they are lipid insoluble. Alright, so what you have to remember is Physostigmine, which is a lipid soluble, it is a tertiary amine, and the other lipid soluble drugs are tacrin, donepezil, rivastigmine and as well as galantamine. Whereas apart from these drugs, all other drugs are synthetic quaternary amines. These particular synthetic quaternary amines, they are lipid insoluble drugs. Alright, now let me take about the Physostigmine. Remember, due to its high lipid solubility, Physostigmine can be administered orally and it can easily cross the blood-brain barrier and as well as the corneal membranes. Right? So Physostigmine, because of its high lipid solubility, it can be given orally and it will cross the blood-brain barrier and it will also cross the corneal membranes. Right? Also cross the corneal membranes. Whereas you take the lipid insoluble drugs, these lipid insoluble drugs, they are ineffective orally. Okay, lipid insoluble drugs, they are ineffective orally, and these drugs, they do not enter the central nervous system because they cannot cross the blood-brain barrier and they do not even cross the corneal membrane. So that is the reason why they do not even enter the eye. So these drugs, they do not enter central nervous system or eye. Okay, next. The other point is, because Physostigmine can cross the corneal membrane, where is this Physostigmine used? This particular Physostigmine is used in glaucoma. Okay, so Physostigmine is used in glaucoma as a miotic agent, right? As a miotic agent, and thereby it will reduce the intraocular pressure. Next, this particular Physostigmine is also used in belladonna poisoning as a specific antidote. Right? This is also used in case of belladonna poisoning. So what is this particular belladonna poisoning? Belladonna poisoning is nothing but your atropine poisoning. So in atropine poisoning, remember, Physostigmine is a specific antidote. Right, it is a specific antidote, right? That is about your Physostigmine. Now, we have another very important drug which is called Neostigmine. Right, we have another very important drug which is called Neostigmine. Where do we use this particular Neostigmine? Neostigmine, remember, it is preferred for the treatment of myasthenia gravis. Right, it is preferred in the treatment of myasthenia gravis. Okay, so along with Physostigmine, right, we have a lipid soluble tertiary amine that is called Neostigmine. This Neostigmine is used in the treatment of myasthenia gravis. Now, a point that you need to remember about Neostigmine is it does not produce the adverse effects in the central nervous system. You see Physostigmine is crossing the blood-brain barrier, whereas you take the Neostigmine does not cross the blood-brain barrier. That is the reason why you don't have the adverse effects in the central nervous system. Now, it will act directly at the neuromuscular receptor, and that is the reason why it is used in the treatment of myasthenia gravis. So the advantage of Neostigmine over the Physostigmine is Neostigmine do not cross the blood-brain barrier, so it do not produce the adverse effects in the central nervous system. So Neostigmine, no CNS adverse effects. Right, Neostigmine, there are no CNS adverse effects. Alright. Now, this particular neostigmine, it can also be used for the treatment of cobra bite. Right. Not only in myasthenia gravis, it is also used in the treatment of cobra bite. Okay. So, cobra venom contains the compounds that will cause the skeletal muscle paralysis. Okay. So, this neostigmine at the neuromuscular junction, it will stimulate the muscles, and thereby that skeletal muscle paralysis which is caused by the cobra venom can be neutralized. Okay. So, neostigmine is used in the treatment of myasthenia gravis, which is an autoimmune disorder, and neostigmine is also used in the treatment of the cobra bite, because this cobra bite or the cobra venom, it contains the compounds that will cause skeletal muscle paralysis. So, if you give this neostigmine, it will act at the neuromuscular junction and it will stimulate the skeletal muscle, and thereby skeletal muscle paralysis will be neutralized. And the other places where we give this particular neostigmine apart from these two conditions is, neostigmine is also used in case of post-operative paralytic ileus. Right, post-operative paralytic ileus. Okay. So, remember, in the post-operative state, under the effect of anesthesia, the intestines, they will be in a state of paralysis. So, in order to reduce that post-operative paralytic ileus, we can give this particular neostigmine. Neostigmine is also used in the atony of the urinary bladder. Right, in the atony of, okay, in the atony of the urinary bladder also we can use this particular neostigmine. And not only that, in the reversal of competitive skeletal muscle relaxants, even in the reversal of competitive skeletal muscle relaxants, we use this particular neostigmine. Okay. So, points about your neostigmine is, neostigmine do not cross the blood-brain barrier. So, you do not have central nervous system adverse effects. What are all the various uses of neostigmine is, it is used in autoimmune disorder, that is myasthenia gravis, and this neostigmine directly acts at the neuromuscular junction. Also used in the treatment of the cobra bite, because the cobra venom contains the compounds that will cause skeletal muscle paralysis. It is used in the treatment of post-operative paralytic ileus, right, and it is also used in the atony of the urinary bladder. Alright, whereas you take physostigmine. Physostigmine is used as a miotic in glaucoma. It is used in belladonna poisoning as a specific antidote.